Hello, and welcome to the Domo training. My name is Chloe Brown. I'm a senior data analyst on the platform analytics and insights team, where we spend quite a lot of time building dashboards and cards and data sets in Domo. However, the goal of this training is to actually make that a more accessible process for everyone. This training is specific to the platform health metrics initiative that everyone's working on the platform team right now. However, this advice should still hold true for anyone who is working and building in the larger VA Domo ecosystem. So first of all, like I said, the goal of this training is to make using Domo rather than just viewing things on Domo something that folks are really able to start owning and building themselves. In order to do that, we're going to start by going over a couple basic Domo terms and concepts so that we're all clear about what we're talking about, especially since Domo has some highly specific names that it likes to use for some of its tools. We'll also talk about some of the navigation basics so that it's easy to get around, understand kind of where you are on the platform and how to find options that might be useful to you. And then we'll do an overview of some of the key tasks that you're going to want to be able to do in Domo, like adding data, creating your own cards, and then finally putting those cards on dashboards. This is an overview training, so hopefully this gives folks a sense of what is possible, how to get started, what to Google if they get stuck. We'll also be holding a Q&A, at least one or two, after this training goes out on the platform website. But we'll also leave you with a couple resources as well. Domo has a lot of e-learning classes that you can kind of go through yourself. And there are also a huge amount of written resources. So once you know what some of the terms are, what you're trying to do, I think that those are going to be a lot more useful to folks moving forward with their own questions. But to get started out, let's kick off with those Domo terms and concepts, because as I mentioned, they are a little bit specific to this tool compared to other BI platforms you may have used before. So first of all, we will start with cards. Cards are what are the, the data visualizations that make up the dashboard. Anything that's a graph or a table or a data callout, that is a card that someone built connected to data. You can view cards on a dashboard or open them in greater detail in their own tabs. And also importantly, while there are data-based cards, and that's where you're going to spend the majority of your time, once you get to actually designing dashboard layouts, you're going to see that there are also header cards or image cards or just text cards, which will be useful to making sure that the layout of your dashboard actually looks and feels a way that is helpful to you and easy to read. Moving on to that next section, pages/dashboards. These are terms that Domo mostly uses kind of interchangeably. So anytime you're looking for dashboard and you see page as an option, but not dashboard as an option, you can just defer to page. It's going to take you where you need to go. But mostly in the places that I think folks are going to be spending their time when they're getting started out, especially, things will be labeled dashboards, and that's going to be really helpful. So basically, it's just a collection of cards. Everyone, I am assuming, who is in this training has seen a dashboard, used a dashboard before. So it's Domo's version of that. I do just want to highlight that in some places you're going to see that other name. So don't feel too confused or lost if that is the case. Going back to cards, though, we're also going to spend some time talking about the analyzer. So the analyzer is kind of the building interface, the tool that you use to create and edit your cards. The analyzer is going to allow you to customize the appearance of your cards, especially color, filters, sorts, what type of graph it is that you're using. You can also add descriptions there, and you can also create custom calculations, which we will get to at the end of this list. But this is where anytime you want to edit something, you will be opening up the analyzer. So look for that word if you're having trouble figuring out how to make a change. Next, data sets. This one should be a little bit more straightforward. So a data set is just a data set that you bring into Domo from an outside source. This is what we use to power cards. And the way that we bring those data sets in is through connectors. So nearly every third-party application where data is going to be stored has a specific connector, which is basically like a tool that walks you through the process of putting in your credentials and bringing your data into Domo. So we will talk about some specific connectors here, things that we think that folks might be more likely to use, and we'll spend some time kind of walking through the basic stages, which are going to be fairly similar regardless of which connector you've chosen. Next, data flows. This is something that we are not actually going to cover in the scope of this particular training, but do want to flag it so that folks know that it's an option. A data flow is a transformation tool that allows you to modify, restructure, or group data that has already been brought into Domo through a connector. So we use data flows a lot if we need to downsize our data, if we're working from a very large data set but only need a small part of it, or maybe we need to restructure in a way that we cannot do through a basic small card calculation. This is where we go to make those modifications. Domo has two main options for data flows. The magic ETL is going to be the best fit for most people. That's kind of like drag and drop. It has a lot of preset options for how you can modify things as you move through and preview your data as you go through designing that data flow. There is also a SQL option, though this one's a little bit limited as far as what functions are actually available. And then lastly, beast modes. We will talk about these today when we're talking about card building. So a beast mode is basically just a special level of detail calculation. This is a new calculated field that you want to be able to create, either because it doesn't exist in your existing data set or because it's something that's going to be calculated a little bit differently based on what are the filters and other fields applied to that card. So if you want to do a unique user count and you want to make sure that it is something that is consistent and calculated correctly and accurately, regardless what filters are put on it, what time frame is put on it, then a beast mode is what you would want to use because it's going to be flexible based on what data is actually filtered into the card. So that's something that we'll talk about later. But these are kind of the main parts of the Domo universe that we think are going to be most immediately useful and of interest to folks who are getting started building there.